This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said on Monday that Ukraine was willing to devise a deal enabling gas to transit through its territory to Western Europe, but ruled out any extension of an existing deal with Russia. Shmyhal was writing on the Telegram messaging app after speaking to Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico as some European countries stepped up their search for gas supplies. With 2 weeks remaining before the gas transit deal with Russia expires, Shmyhal said Ukraine was willing to discuss transit of gas of any origin except Russian.
Oil prices were down on Tuesday as China's economic data renewed demand concerns, while investors remained cautious ahead of the U.S. Federal Reserve's interest rate decision. Brent crude futures eased 32 cents to $73.59 a barrel at 0949 GMT, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was down 44 cents at $70.27 a barrel. Prices were weighed on by profit-taking after last week's 6% rally and a batch of disappointing Chinese economic data yesterday, IG market analyst Tony Sycamore said.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
The growth of solar power installations in Europe slumped to just 4% this year after years of double-digit increases, industry data showed on Tuesday, heightening concerns about the continent's clean energy transition. The findings bode ill for the European Union's plans to rapidly expand its use of renewable energy, a central pillar of the bloc's efforts to fight climate change and end its reliance on Russian fossil fuels. The amount of solar energy installed in the EU had jumped by more than 40% year-on-year in both 2021 and 2022, and by more than 50% in 2023, Industry Association Solar Power Europe said.
Japan wants renewable energy to account for up to 50% of its electricity mix by fiscal year 2040, with nuclear power taking up another 20%, according to a draft of its revised basic energy policy, as it makes a clean energy push while meeting rising power demand. As the world's second-largest importer of liquefied natural gas and a major consumer of Middle Eastern oil, Japan and its basic energy plans are drawing global attention from oil, gas and coal producers. While the previous energy plan's primary focus was decarbonization, it has shifted greater attention to energy security given heightened geopolitical risks, including the Russia-Ukraine war. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. 10 European Union (EU) countries have proposed further sanctions on Russian trade, including its output of metals such as aluminium, to further cut the country's revenues and funding for its war in Ukraine, a letter seen by Reuters showed. There are more than 2,000 individuals and entities on the EU's sanctions list, but not Russian metal producers such as Rusal or primary metal produced in Russia. Signatories to the letter sent 2 weeks ago proposing bans on Russian origin metal include Poland, taking over presidency of the EU in January from Hungary, which has been hostile to the idea, one source familiar with the matter said.
India's gold imports are poised for a sharp slowdown in December following record purchases in November, in the absence of any major festival, and as rebounding prices prompt buyers to delay purchases, trade and government officials said. Lower imports by India, the world's second biggest consumer of the precious metal, could cap a rally in global prices that hit a record high in October. The drop in imports could also help India narrow its trade deficit and support the ailing rupee. Last month, imports shot up thanks to strong demand for investment and jewelry, Prithviraj Katari, president of the India Bullion and Jewelers Association, said.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
The U.S. soybean crush declined in November from an all-time high a month earlier and fell short of most trade estimates, according to National Oilseed Processors Association, NOPA, data released on Monday. NOPA members, which account for about 95% of U.S. processed soybeans, crushed 193.185 million bushels of the oilseed last month, below the average estimate of 196.713 million bushels in a Reuters poll of 10 analysts. Crush estimates for November ranged from 191.000 million to 207.000 million bushels, with a median of 195.911 million bushels. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.